Yes, welcome to ELBC Newsline, one full hour of news from Liberia and other parts of the world. Today is Monday, July 15, 2024. My name is Fabian Puya presenting, and these are the top stories. The Supreme Court to entertain legal arguments between state prosecutors and lawyers representing jailed former Chief Justice Gloria Musso-Scott and three others this Tuesday. Several ambassadors destined to Liberia present letters of credence to Foreign Minister Sarah Beslow Yanti. Joint Security in Nima County investigates private security officer for impersonation and false recruitment of AFL and police officers. In the Gambia, lawmakers reject a bill seeking to overthrow 2015 ban of female genital mutilation. These stories and much more, including sports, the weather report, the news in simple English and French. But first, Grace Tao and the news bulletin.
The Supreme Court is expected to entertain legal arguments between state prosecutors and lawyers representing jailed former Chief Justice Gloria Musso-Scott and three family members this Tuesday. It followed an appeal prayed for by the defense team representing Councillor Gloria Scott and three others. Councillor Gloria Musso-Scott, Gertrude Newton, Alice Johnson, and Yude Wisner were found guilty last December for murdering Chala Musu at their Broadville residence home in February 2023 by trial jurors at Criminal Court A. Tuesday's arguments before the full bench will see defense arguing their case to legally convince the full bench of the Supreme Court that their clients did not commit the crime. At the same time, state prosecutors are also expected to maintain their stance that the murder convicts committed the crime. Convicts Gloria Musso-Scott, Gertrude Newton, Alice Johnson, and Yude Wisner have been in prison since June 2023 and sentenced to life by Criminal Court A. Several ambassadors designate to Liberia have presented copies of their letters of credence to Foreign Minister Sarah Beslow Yanti. The presentation of the documents to Minister Yanti is ahead of the official presentation to President Joseph Boakai. The incoming ambassadors designate include Mistress Selma Mosave of Namibia, Tamas Andre Fiha of Hungary, Eduard Ndumna of Burundi, and Pavel Belik of Czech Republic. Others are Daniel Mahongo of Zambia, Dr. Usra Alarhab of Indonesia, Osla Faringa of Australia, Velum Pillai Kanatan of Sri Lanka, and Saad bin Bakir Al-Khatami of Saudi Arabia. A foreign ministry release says the official presentation of the letters of credence to President Boakai will formalize their status as ambassadors extraordinary and plenipotentiary of Liberia. That's to Liberia. Meanwhile, Foreign Minister Sarah Beslow Yanti has described the arrival of the ambassadors designate as a testament to the enduring partnerships and shared values between Liberia and their nations. Minister Yanti emphasized the importance of diplomatic relations and international cooperation, highlighting Liberia's commitment to fostering strong bilateral ties with their respective countries. The chief Liberian diplomat said she is optimistic that the new ambassadors would contribute significantly to the enhancement of diplomatic, economic, and cultural relations. She assured the ambassadors designate of her ministry's full support and cooperation in their endeavors to strengthen mutual ties and achieve common goals. Minister Yanti acknowledged the qualifications and experiences of the ambassadors designate and expressed confidence in their ability to foster robust diplomatic engagement with Liberia. Agents of the National Security Agency are said to be investigating an officer of the VIP security network in Nimba County for allegedly impersonating as an AFL soldier. According to our correspondent, Frederick Walker was arrested recently from a local guest house in Gunta, where he was carrying out a purported recruitment for AFL. Our correspondent said Mr. Walker was also allegedly recruiting for the Police Emergency Response Unit (ERU) and the Police Support Unit (PSU). According to our correspondent, the 52-year-old is the deputy training director for a local private security firm known as VIP Security Network in Painesville. Following the conclusion of the investigation, Mr. Walker will be sent to Regional Security Hub in Bangabon County for further action. The Liberia Authority, in partnership with civil society organization Working Group, is conducting a 3-day training on land rights in Monrovia. The initiative, held under the theme Strengthening Partnership with Members of the Legislature, is intended to enhance implementation of the land rights laws. Speaking at the start of the training, Land Authority Project Director Daniela Gray Johnson described the training as crucial to land reforms across the country. Madam Gray Johnson also called for strong collaboration with other stakeholders in the land sector to make it more responsive and viable. In remarks, Grangida County Representative Jacob Derby pledged the legislative support to address overwhelming challenges at the Land Authority. The managing director of the National Housing Authority has called for an amendment of the NHA Act of 1960. Madam Florence Jigwe said such move will strengthen institutional capacity and an arm of the NHA with the requisite policy framework that will enhance the housing sector. According to Madam Jigwe, the current housing policy and regulatory framework is very weak and cannot deliver world standard affordable housing on a sustained basis. She said the National Housing Authority needs regulatory powers to adequately control housing development in Liberia. Speaking on the 50-50 talk show in Monrovia recently, the new NHS boss stressed the regulating housing designs and development is the surest way of bringing the sector up to international standards. At the same time, the managing director of the NHA, Madam Florence Jigwe, has spoken of plans to build standard homes for Liberians. Madam Jigwe said she is engaging investors and has already reached MOUs with a few of them to help develop the housing sector. She added that the plan is to construct smart cities that provide affordable homes for low-income, middle-income, and high-income earners. Madam Jigwe said massive investment in the sector will address the huge and unending need for affordable housing in Liberia. The NHA boss challenged Liberians in the diaspora to take keen interest in the housing sector, adding they could take ownership of luxury homes that could be built in the coming years. The chairperson of the Office of the Ombudsman, Councillor Finlay Kanga, has assured full implementation and adherence to the Code of Conduct. Councillor Kanga said the Office of the Ombudsman has started drafting guidelines to be printed as an official gazette by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He told the LBC Monday that raising awareness about the Code of Conduct is essential to reducing the rate of violation.
Another expectation we have is that we hope to build public trust. And how do we do that? We need to be example of everything in the code. By being example means if the rule is that every public official must declare their asset, we must declare our asset and go one more step.
Councillor Finlay Kanga said the setting up of an office of the Ombudsman is to oversee implementation and adherence, has removed the self-regulatory framework that existed in the past. He thanked President Joseph Boakai for judicious use of his political will to establish the office of Ombudsman and urged those covered under the Code of Conduct to act accordingly. The Sano County Detachment of the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency has demolished several ghettos in Greenville. According to our correspondent, the exercise was carried out with assistance from community dwellers. No arrest was made during the exercise. Meanwhile, LDA Commander Milton Howard said the agency will continue to exercise to other parts of the county, urging residents to cooperate. Police in that's Mount Bartley community are investigating a 36-year-old man, Elijah Lakui, for alleged arson attack on a two-bedroom apartment in the area. Suspect Lakui was arrested after one of the fire survivors filed a complaint accusing him of carrying out the act. Our correspondent quotes the survivor, only identified as Esther, as accusing suspect Lakui of earlier threatening to burn down the house after she terminated her love affairs with him. Meanwhile, correspondents said the suspect has since denied committing the act. He is currently at the Mount Bartley police station undergoing inquiry. The 11th Judicial Circuit Court in Bomi County has sentenced a 38-year-old man to 10 years in prison. Momokane was sentenced for aggravated assault and murder. According to our correspondent Convict Kane, in January this year spilled acid on his ex-girlfriend Wata Sharif for allegedly refusing to continue the relationship with him. The victim later died at the JFK Memorial Hospital, where she was taken for treatment. Meanwhile, family of the victim has expressed dissatisfaction over the ruling of the court, saying given the gravity of the crime, the suspect should have been given a life sentence. And several market women, their children and other shoppers at the Rally Time Market in Central Monrovia have benefited from free medical screening and treatment. The free medical screening and treatment was part of outreach activities of the West Africa College of Physicians Liberia chapter as prelude to the organization's annual General Scientific Meeting. During the outreach activities over the weekend, medical specialists of the West Africa College of Physicians Liberia chapter screened for malaria, diabetes, hypertension, and provided treatment for minor illnesses. Speaking to ELBC, the organization's chairperson, Dr. Musu Duwako, said the outreach is important because it affords access to medical services. Meanwhile, the West Africa College of Physicians Liberia Chapter Annual General Scientific Meeting and J and Toba Lecture Series will be held on July 19 in Monrovia.
Crystal and the news bulletin. She returns a little later with the weather report and foreign news. One of the big stories we're following: the Supreme Court to entertain legal arguments between state prosecutors and lawyers representing jailed former Chief Justice Gloria Musu-Scott and 3 others this Tuesday. While the Code of Conduct Act of 2014 was prescribed through an act of legislature for all public officials and employees of government, it is there to guide the behaviors and conduct of public officials, government employees, and private citizens doing business with the government of Liberia. Until 2024, the Code of Conduct was implemented, and a year or two in isolation because no office was set up and no chairpersons were appointed to oversee the implementation. Few months ago, President Joseph Boyka appointed Councillor Finlay Kanga and others to the Office of Ombudsman to ensure the full implementation of the law. On the Super Morning Show on Monday, Vafli Kamara asked Councillor Kanga what the Office of Ombudsman hopes to achieve in the implementation and adherence to the Code of Conduct.
One of the things I hope to achieve could be to stand up the code, right? So that is an office building, having cable staff in there to ensure that the code is complied with them. And then another expectation we have is that we hope to build public trust. And how do we do that? We need to be example of everything in the code. And by being example means if the rule is that every public official must declare the asset, we must declare our asset and go one more step. Once we declare the asset, we should be able to publish our asset in the one more step. By doing that, it means we'll be example, not only in our offices, but if we are home, we will be public official, we should deal with people in a just and equitable way.
The Ombudsman office does not have prosecutorial power, but I'm very sure it has investigative power. How do you, first of all, have this instinct of violation of the code before investigation? Who reports to you?
The code provides that citizens should report to the Office of Ombudsman. Citizen. So whenever you notice or believe that a violation has actually occurred, right? You can report that. Or a whistleblower, can think a violation has occurred. You can report that. Now, without any report, the Office of Ombudsman of its own can go after a situation if they believe that a violation.
Do we have sufficient evidence to?
That's what he's investigating now.
Okay.
So the office can go of its own to investigate.
Even in the absence of an office space now, do you take complaint?
Right now,
do you have one?
It's a little bit tricky. I know that we are doing a few fact finding, which I cannot tell you where they are. But over the next course of the day,
but Martin Colley, for example, publicly said that he's complained or filed a complaint to the office.
Yes. So if there is anything that filed to my office, it cannot be discussed.
Okay.
There's nowhere. So don't bring anything that somebody said filed to me. It cannot be discussed, and it's a violation of my duty.
But the complainant said that when public can say I've filed,
I cannot discuss it. At that point, I'm prohibited.
Councillor Finlay Kanga is chairperson of the Office of Ombudsman in an interview with Vafli Kamara. The National Housing Authority, like many other government institutions, have suffered gaps created by low funding over the years. Amid such billing, it seems the new management wants to move forward with some innovative ways to attract investments to the housing sector. But as Vasta Talo reports, new Managing Director Florence Jigbe believes amending the 1960 Act is a major startup point.
According to Madam Florence Jigbe, the current housing policy and regulatory framework is very weak and cannot deliver world standard affordable housing on a sustained basis. Madam Jigbe said granting the NHA regulatory powers will strengthen institutional capacity and arm the entity with the requisite policy framework that will enhance the housing sector. The Ministry of Public Works, which serves as board chair of the National Housing Authority, is charged with the responsibility to regulate housing construction. Despite this mandate, housing construction seems to be inadequately regulated. So why is this regulatory power necessary for the NHA?
A lot of things have to change. We don't have regulatory powers. In order for NHA to begin producing the way you and myself want NHA to produce, we must be given some powers to regulate housing development sector of the Republic of Liberia. If you go across Liberia, people just construct anyway, anyhow. And remember, the Ministry of Public Works is our board chair, statutorily. Land Authority is also a member of the board.
The inadequate regulation of housing development over the years has resulted to increase in slum dwellers' vulnerability to housing-induced poverty, disasters, diseases, and crime. On the 50-50 talk show in Monrovia recently, Managing Director Florence Jigbe unveils her administration's plans and how she envisions the NHA in the coming years on a government's arrest agenda.
We just construct some matches boxes we call it estates, which we are getting out of. My plan is that we construct estates, cities. In fact, I want smart cities across the 15 counties of Liberia. The government cannot shoulder everything because there's a huge need for affordable home for the Liberian populace, both low income, middle income, even the high income that need the luxury homes. There's a huge need for that.
Monrovia, the nation's capital, is currently faced with housing crisis. The UrbanNet 2022 Global Housing Crisis Report shows that Liberia needs at least 200,000 new dwelling homes to reduce current overcrowding. For Managing Director Jigbe, there are workable formulas to address these issues and deliver up to luxury homes for Liberians if given the necessary and sufficient support by both government and development partners. This is Vasta Talu reporting for.
A private security officer is said to be undergoing investigation in Nema County for allegedly impersonating as an officer of the Armed Forces of Liberia. 52-year-old Frederick Walker was arrested by the NSA following a tip-off that he was allegedly carrying out recruitment for AFL and the Liberian National Police. ELBC Nema County correspondent Daniel Kate explains more to Vafli Kamara.
Police Adika is a deputy director for training division. He came in Nema to be specific in Ghana, and he bought a guest house room. The guest house is known as Same Quality Guest House, and then he started to contact few persons he has this false letter in his possession, claiming that was written either for the police barrack from the Shevlin barrack. So he has this letter only on the pretense that he came to do recruitment. So at a certain point, when some people go to him, he will tell them he will be charging them $5,000 to bring their passport to him for him to process their document. And when he was arrested, he had a series of passports in possession. Then when some group of people go to him, he will claim that he came to do ERU recruitment. Then when some group go to him too, he will say that he came to do PSU recruitment. Just like that, he was not stable. The NSA people who got the tip off, and then they went, they seek for session warrant, they entered the guest house, they arrested him, they took him to the police. And the police too did their part of the investigation. They took statement for him. The NSA people told him they carried him for further investigation.
Some of the victims who reported him to the police and then he was arrested?
Not really the victim, but it was the NSA, guys who received the tip off, and then they went there, they arrested him. But then when they arrested him, and he was taken to the police, when the information started going around, some people came and they started to admit that they gave him money. And even the guest house, the manager of the guest house came to the police station and said that this particular federal guy is owing them $760.
How? Because he was sleeping in a guest house and he didn't pay?
Yes, according to the manager, federal took one room for himself. They don't own book additional 2 rooms. Probably is that he was keeping, some people there. So he booked additional 2 rooms, and then for the level of time that he spent there, the amount accumulated up to $706.
So currently he's beyond bar.
Yeah, currently he's with the NSA going through the investigation.
And he has actually admitted of not being an EFA officer.
Yeah, when he was at the police station, the police were doing their investigation. He admitted that he's not an EFA personnel.
ELBC Nimai County correspondent Daniel Gate, a capacity building forum aimed at strengthening partnership with members of the legislature has opened in Monrovia. It is intended to enhance implementation of the land rights law of the country with members of legislature and foreign partners in attendance. Speaking at the opening of the training, Land Authority Project Director Diala Gray Johnson described the training as crucial to viability of the land sector.
The LNA also developed a digital document management system that was used to compile all the documents that were used for the pilots. And because we have many CSOs that are implementing in the land sector, we wanted to know who is doing what and where so that we do not have duplication or overlap. And so with the support of the Swedish government, the LLA developed this community land document management tool. It's an online platform that the CSOs can go upload the information where they are working so be able to keep track of it. It's an ongoing process and we are still trying to adjust to this. The Land Authority Act was passed in 2016 and we have been making some progress. We conducted extensive nationwide awareness on the Land Rights Act and the LLA in selected communities in the 15 counties of Liberia. We have developed draft guidelines and procedures for the vetting and validation of travel certificate, guidelines for confirmatory survey, and guidelines for boundary harmonization of customary land in Liberia, which we hope to finalize soon. With the support of our partners, we have been working towards decentralizing land services throughout Liberia. So we have, with the support of the World Bank, 5 county land offices in Bomi, Lofa, Bon, Benjide, Cape Mount were renovated, and the Swedish government assisted to be able to furnish, because I think at the point where the renovation was completed, they ran out of funds, and so it was complementary. The Swedish government came in and said, for these offices to be effective, we have to have the equipment and the whatever they need. So they came in and provided training, also of the staff and equipment for those offices.
In remarks, Grangeda County Representative Jacob Debbie pledged legislative support to the Land Authority to enhance its operations.
Community that is a rural one, and because it is a rural one, there are a lot of issues concerning land rights, land issues. So when there is an issue that has to do with knowledge sharing in terms of land acquisition, your land ownership, I must be there because I want to ensure that my people have the right information. So yes, it's important for us from Grangeda because we have this cross-country border invasion now by the Burkinabes and our other people into agriculture. So when they don't understand what it is to own the land, there will always be conflict. So that's why I'm here to ensure that the knowledge that have been acquired here will be able to help my people to understand the land issues.
Several recommendations were preferred here today, Representative Phoebe. You're going back to the legislature. What is your message to your colleagues in terms of helping to revamp the land sector to avoid some of the land conflicts that are hindering the lives of Liberians?
We work through committees at the House of Representatives. I just encourage the conveners of this workshop that they should share their presentation with us so that we can be able to lobby with our colleagues to explain to their consciences so that they'll be able to understand, to make sure that the land rights law adhere to the policy should be implemented by the executive while the laws are upheld. So we will encourage them. As I said, we have committed to working with them to ensure that whatsoever they need in terms of the passage, in terms of the
Budgetary support.
Yeah, this budgetary support. This institution can now